tax collector does a wonderful job. That's the rate. That's where the rate where we were to where we went to. That's something that's actually worked in our favor, which is great.
Okay, we're up to question number 3 on the summary review revenues. Why did the anticipated with prior written consent of the DLGS come in ahead of expectations at 290 versus 267? Mr. Purio, will you please first explain to the body DLGS?
Division of Local Government Services.
Would you help the citizens? Oh, go ahead.
The Division of Local Government Services is kind of like the administrative arm of Congress. They're the rule setters. They're the guys that you go to for guidance. They're the guys when our budget is done. That's what we send it to for them to go ahead and give us a blessing. They review the budget, they make any comments, and then ultimately they send the budget back. But primarily, what? It must be the touch. So we're
Stephanie, are we live now?
Yes, you are.
All right, for the sake of the public coming in right now, this is the meeting of the Borough of River Edge Mayor Council Citizens Budget Committee, Saturday, March 7th. Due to some technical glitches, the meeting began without the video. We've only gone into the meeting for about 10 minutes. During that time, the roll call was made. For the record, for the visual record, I will say present is Mayor Papaleo, Councilman Bastide, Councilman Canigo, Councilman Gordier, Councilwoman Kaufman, Councilwoman Kinsella, Councilwoman Montesano Coleman. Present from the Citizen Budget Committee is Mr. Barbary, Ms. Esposito, and Mr. Krautheim. Absent with consent are Ms. Calderon, Mr. Constantine, and Mr. Roman. Also present is our VA, Mr. Purio. We've had the pledge. We had a moment of silence. We had notice of the exit, and that this meeting was publicized correctly. We have now entered into a discussion of some questions. The first question is, why does it say 998, I think it's 1,000 used for 2020 in the surplus, and then it says 975. The answer was when the original looking at budget, Mr. Purio had planned on increasing the surplus to get the tax rate below 100. Thus, it was a forecasted number going forward. However, it ended up in an increase in the anticipation of revenues instead. Then we entered into the question of why the tax collection popped from 215.7K to 459. And it was because our tax collector, who, what is Jim's last name? Anzio. Mr. Anzadino has done an excellent job. Our tax collection rate went from 99.228 to 99.3.
Mayor, just to correct you,
Thank you.
Maureen Murphy is our tax collector. Jim
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anzavino is our tax assessor.
My
Just for
bad.
the record.
Yes, no, I appreciate you making that correction. I'm sorry, Maureen, that I made this mistake on YouTube. Now we're up to the question of why did the anticipated with prior written consent from DLGS come in ahead expected from 290,000 to 267. Mr. Purio, we're back to you.
Okay.
Mr. Purio, are you mic'd at that position at all?
Mayor, I have to say, in my 24 years in government, I've never heard anyone ask if I had talk, if I needed a mic to go ahead and talk, because people couldn't hear me. But here we go. It's official. It's very close to me now.
The other reasons, we've had residents complain that our voices sometimes are low, so I want to make sure that we always make every effort to be heard.
Gotcha. Item B, it says, why are we assuming the delinquent taxes from 235 to 285 from 19 to 20? the answers in 3B, you were able to anticipate $322 in the 2019 budget, but you opted to go ahead and utilize $3,500, sorry. And for 2020, you can anticipate $301K in the 2020 budget. We used 285 and had it maxed out the revenue of where we could go to give us a little bit more cushion. Next question deals with miscellaneous revenue.
It's the outside duty, right?
Hold on, Mr. Poirier. Is there a question?
Yes,
Fine.
yes.
That column's cut off on our Xerox, so it's the outside duty that's topping it up.
What is the increase, if you're looking at all of the different revenues, the increase in revenue came from the outside duty, correct? Okay.
Are we good?
Yeah.
We're on 4 now? Correct, Mr. Poirier?
Yes, sir.
Okay, miscellaneous revenue interest on investments. 12-month bonds are yielding 32% or 0.32% as this is written. I think we need to take our assumed interest rate for this year down somewhat more, and we will be caught out, or we might be caught out. Mr. Poirier, your response.
So, it's a choice. You can do that.
You know what I was thinking? Maybe we should call the NJ Investment Fund and ask them if rates stay where they are now, where will you be for the year?
Yeah, when I spoke to Chris about it this morning, we're actually looking to see where the rate was as of today. They don't have it, they have it more as a rate per month. If they didn't have the available information, we'll certainly reach out to them and see where they're at. When I asked him, I said, do you feel comfortable at this number based upon the question? His thought process and my thought process was, last year we brought in $191,000. We realized $191,000. We anticipated out of that $191,000, 130 roughly. This year it bumped that anticipated revenue up slightly to 136. Even at 136 and with a depressed interest rate, you still have a $56,000 cushion there. And again, that really kind of comes back down into choice. However, if you're going to go ahead and reduce that dollar amount or the amount in which you anticipate on your revenue side on that one particular item, you then either have to utilize more surplus or cut an expenditure to equal that amount. So it's a choice thing. I mean,
What about the interest on taxes, the 90,000 there? The line above it on the revenue?
where are you looking, Councilman?
On the this page. This number, interest on taxes of 90. What's that from?
I believe that is for,
Michelle, which page are you looking at?
It's
here, I'll
the
pull it up,
revenue
I'll pull it up.
page.
Revenue.
Summary of revenues?
It's the one that starts number one. Oh, they all look like that.
Surplus interest.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It's the revenue page that starts with miscellaneous rev,
Fine.
alcoholic beverages, blah, blah.
Yes, got it.
The number in the bottom right-hand corner is 14,998.95.
She's referring to this in the PowerPoint.
I can't see that. Can I just get
Mr.
whatever?
Page.
Yeah, no, but he's not utilizing them, so.
You can share, I can share with you.
No, it's okay. Okay. He's got it available, so.
So you're concerned that we anticipated,
What is that, 90,000
we
from?
generated, we realized the 92, and we're anticipating 90. I'll get you a specific answer on that, on the detail on that line, and then we can have a discussion about it. I believe, I don't want to give you the wrong information. I'll get you that information.
Okay, I'm just, I think the best thing to do is ask the NJ Investment Fund.
Yeah,
Um,
we're happy to do that.
I mean, you know, odds are 1% needs to be used. And if we do that, we do have a big hole in
And
terms-
what are we anticipating right now?
Let's see, well, so last year the average was I was using both numbers because I don't know where that 90,000 is invested.
Right.
And last year it was 229 for the interest rate, so if we assume 1,
That brings our revenue down significantly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll
Where's
just say-
the 90,000, where's that invested, right?
He doesn't know he's going to
Oh,
get
okay.
access. So if it's yielding 1 for the whole pile of money, including the 90, that gives us 123 instead of 283 last year, so that's a shortfall of 159,000 in revenue, which is big. So, yeah, that's an issue. Maybe the economy will rebound, but I don't know.
You think that's gonna raise rates before?
Hey, Chris,
I'm
no.
on that one.
Yeah.
for the record, I have our CFO online, Chris at ALO. You guys hear him?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Chris.
Chris, we're talking about revenues, and there's a concern. Let's start with this. The interest and cost on taxes, what makes up that line?
That is the amount that we receive from interest payments on people that, on properties that aren't paid on time. So the tax due date is February 10th, and somebody pays on February 20th, they have interest that's due on the property. And that goes to that account.
That makes sense.
Okay. There seems to be a concern regarding interest on investments and deposits. Basically, the conversation that you and I had, this basically the conversation that you and I had this morning or yesterday, I believe it was. The concern that the interest rate right now currently is very low, and if we anticipate, right now it's at 136, well it says 135 on the spreadsheet, we adjusted it. Last year we anticipated 130, we realized 191,773.43. We're in about 136 right now, so it's about a $56,000 cushion. Do you have concerns with that we won't meet that revenue projection?
I don't have any concerns that we'll meet it. I think that's probably a safe number, just because it's, what, about 65% of what we actually receive. So, unless the rates go down, another 50% from where they are today, I think that we should be fine. But you have interest rate risk. That's something that I don't have a crystal ball. No one does. But if they stay around where they are today, we just had a 50 basis point reduction at the Fed. How long it takes that to trickle down to our bank accounts is to be determined. But as of today, I think that I'm comfortable with the number that's in the budget.
Okay.
I mean,
Also operating under the assumption that we're going to be, we're going to have a bond sale this year where we're going to be borrowing, we're going to have a higher cash balance than we did last year. So even though we'll be earning a lower interest rate, we'll be earning that lower interest rate on a higher dollar figure.
I mean, the rate on 1-year treasuries right now is 38 basis points. So,
Do you hear that, Chris?
I'm not arguing that at all. We have to ask I'm not sure if the February statement for cash management fund is probably available online. You can see what the interest rate was for February, and then what it does for March is to be determined.
And what kind of rate do you think we should be assuming on the interest on taxes? How does that get invested or calculated?
The interest on taxes is not based on it. We charge 8 and 18%. So we charge 8% on the first $1,500 of delinquency and 18% on every dollar after the first
Oh.
Yeah, like if you don't pay your
Oh,
credit cards on
okay.
time.
Okay. All right.
what the market is.
That's good. Okay.
So would you be comfortable with us leaving it at 136?
Not really. I mean, I think we should talk to the investment fund. Yeah.
All right, Chris, I'll call you back if you got anything else.
Okay.
Bye. So the takeaway from that is we're gonna talk to the investment fund, see what they're thinking, and then I'll report back on what information they provide us. But I got a feeling they're gonna say the same thing, that no one has a crystal ball, can't tell you where we're gonna be, but we'll certainly go ahead and get whatever information that they.
I mean, they should know what their maturity is on all the paper they hold, so that'll give them some indication, right?
You know, maybe what might be best is we'll do when Chris comes back, we'll do a conference call,
Okay.
and we'll call together, that way we're all on the same page.
Okay.
But for right now, we're going to leave it as 136 in the budget. And then upon our chair and your conversation, if we need to modify it, we can always modify that at council meeting.
Okay, because just if we cut it to 1, that gives us, you know, a little bit over $100,000 of hole on revenue. So that's a lot.
Okay. Item 5A, the red tab, there was a question on the 2100 for police recruitment. There's an item here for police recruitment and testing. And actually, that was a double entry to take a look on that page. There's 2 line items listed for police. I don't think police promotion and recruitment or police promotion. So that's $2,100 that you can
Where is
use or reappropriate.
That's on tab 1, red tab 1.
Red tab 1.
And if you go to the second page, it's line 28. Sorry, I didn't put the lines on the first
Okay.
questions.
Councilwoman, just to digress for a second, Chris just texted me and said on the state website, February's average is 1.71 average monthly rate.
Okay.
Say that one more time, Ray.
On the state website, February's was 1.71 average monthly rate. It says cash management fund rate of, and I'll make this slide available to everyone, I'll send it out.
Okay. I mean, if they have a 12-month maturity, we're fine. So,
Yeah, so it's a good, it's better to be conservative.
yeah. Well, just ask.
So
You're
about
right.
so it's about 20%, so we'd still be all right.
Yeah.
So if there's no questions about the double line, we'll move to 5B.
So what's that money for? The recruitment money?
So we have a provision in our ordinance when we hire police officers to give them a psychological examination. Over the years, we've opted not to exercise that option.
Okay.
But if we don't put it in the budget, we can't exercise that option. And we may choose to do so in the future. So it's always in the budget. It needs to always stay in the budget.
Okay.
But you said it's a duplicate, so one of
So,
them might.
right.
So what would you
No, I
do
was just
2,100?
wondering what the
That's 2,100, we can discuss where it ultimately ends up going. If that may be, where we were anticipating an additional 6,000 for the Social Security, under that investment line, we might be able to reduce that now by the $2,100. So the question about the 1220 under membership and dues, $1,210, that's the membership for the National Organization for Municipal Managers. That's also something that's in my contract as well for membership to them. And again, as I put it in, Alan was really big into the CFO side, this is more on the manager side. Why is the nickel price dropping? I pulled that number from, based upon what we spent last year, so I'm not sure that it's necessarily dropping, I think perhaps it was over budgeted.
Okay.
Okay, everybody, we're at red tab 2.
No, tab 4, number 8, tab 4.
Yes, please. Wait, did we do number 7, tab 3?
Before we move there, Tom,
Yeah.
back to Nixle. So last year we budgeted 3,000, but we only used 2,185, right? So are we now just budgeting 2,185?
For that particular number, and it's also budgeted in other places as well, too.
Okay, because I'm just concerned, because I think we're going towards the more notifications to our citizens than less.
So there's money budgeted in rec, there's money budgeted in a couple of
Do,
spots.
do we, so with Nixle, we basically pay per notification?
We pay an overall fee and then we pay for notification.
Okay.
The 6, 7, I'm sorry, Mayor, 7. What is employee appreciation? 2,500. That's the lunch that you guys do, that you throw to the employees over at the diner.
2,500?
Joe's
At
gonna
the
cook it
diner?
next year.
2,500 at the diner?
A lot of employees.
It's a lot of people.
A lot of people.
It's a very nice,
Okay.
very nice event.
No.
Well, it's
true.
It's the red now.
Oh,
Well, River Edge Diner, already dated.
The red.
The legal ads, next question is, what are the legal ads in printing dropping? Did 2019 they come in lower than expected? They did not. However, previously in the budget was a miscellaneous line, and I reduced the dollar amount of the miscellaneous lines.
I have a question there, Ray. What is the copier contract? Is that because we contract the copiers? Line 178, how did, because it went up to 5,100. I was wondering if we could rent the copiers, is that what you mean?
Currently right now, we, over there, we buy, no, I'm sorry, over there, we have to pay a fee for additional copies that we do, and that has seemed to be increasing, or so I'm told at least by staff. Tab number 9, tab 5, why is printing up 4,000? Everything now in finance is done via the computer. We used to hand type checks. We used to hand type POs. Everything now goes through the admin system and gets printed out. That's a number that we're going to take, being our first year. We'll see how it goes this year, and then next year we'll kind of adjust accordingly depending upon where we end up.
I have an image of Bob Cratchit sitting in a raised desk, looking at the stove, asking if he can put another piece of coal in. You go to bed.
Yeah.
So we're up to why is professional services dropping 8,000, still tab 5.
Professional services, part of when Chris was contracted, provided contracted assistance from CFO, his dollar amount would get charged to that line. Now that he's in employee, he gets charged salary and wages.
If I'm not mistaken, that was also because we still had Alan on the books, and we were bringing Chris in as a second. So now that Alan's off the books, we can make that correction to the budget.
Why is computer maintenance dropping, 2,400 computer software dropping? Basically, in a lot of the budgets, while I haven't totally eliminated it in everyone's budget, there were pockets of money in everybody's budget for IT. And now that we brought QuickText in, I've reduced in almost all of the budgets that were allocated funds for IT services, because this guy had, this department needs this guy, this department needs that guy. So now you saw one line overall increase, which was also due to QuickBooks, and the rest of the lines pretty much dropped. I'm sorry, I'm not used to using this touchpad. I
No problem.
apologize.
Let me read this. We're now at tab 7 for the committee, and why the new 5,000 for the tax appraiser.
So it's not really new, it's just a shifting of accounts. Used to be under legal, I put it under tax, 6 one, half a dozen the other, it just seemed to make more sense under that account.
So we're moving kind of quickly. If anyone feels that we're moving too quickly or has a question, please interrupt me or Mr. Fiorio, and we will, or if you wish for us to go back, that's fine. Tab 8, why is labor
Florio.
Oh, I did it again. I was doing good. Florio. Why is labor relations down 7,000?
So it's not. What that question asks is a particular line under the legal budget. Labor relations is not down. Labor relations, that fee, instead of having a one large fee for labor relations, in the legal budget, I've broken it down to 4 different categories, which was fire, police, public works in general, and redistributed that funding. The other and the reason for that has to also do with billing, because I used to get one bill that was this thick. So now I've worked out with our legal counsel to say, okay, anything associated with anything associated with the fire department gets charged to 001. Anything gets charged to, for the police goes to 002. So that way, you as a counsel, myself as a VA, when we take a look at the legal costs going into 2021 budget, we'll have a better understanding of what we really spend for police, public works, so on and so forth.
Okay, now we're up to question B. Why are you assuming tax appeals down 15,000?
I am not assuming that tax appeals will be down 15,000. I took the amount in which we paid our attorney that handled that. We paid him last year $19,643.44. I rounded down because last year much of the overall division of legal. Let me know. We had in our legal budget. This is one of the line items in our legal budget. I reduced that individual line based upon what we spent last year. However, overall in legal, in all of our accounts, we went ahead and spent a tremendous amount of money on one department last year. The likelihood is we're not going to spend that amount of money. So I really was, the net ultimately ends up to the same.
Okay.
Okay?
Tab 9, line 166. Why are we assuming engineering costs goes up 19,000? Is that just to offset those special items dropping off to give us cushion?
So again, this was just more of a administrative task. If you look under the legal, under the engineering budget, Mr. Costa used to have a contract for everything that he did, and a separate contract for that. What I've worked out with our engineering department is I've increased the retainer, the amount of all of the small lines, and said, unless it's a project, a specific project like a road job, don't get any more bills. No more bills, no more contracts, no more $1,000 change orders. This is your retainer, this is what you get paid to provide engineering services to the borough. It's a push, so we're not spending any more. And administratively, it's gone. The ladies downstairs are much happier. I think you as a council are much happier that they're not doing a $1,000 change order at every meeting. And it ends up being a push.
So it's all those one-liners.
It's all those one-liners that have now been condensed into increasing his retainer.
Has that been an average $19,000? Has that been an average over the last couple of years of what that pile of?
Yeah, and what ends up happening when you do something along those lines, there are going to be times where we're the winner, and there are going to be times where he's the winner. right? But generally speaking, that's kind of where you end up. And I've had that conversation before with other previous engineers. There may be some months, I've also had engineers that based on, purely just on an hourly bill. And there's some months that you're using, every day like your new best friend, and then you go 2-3 months and you don't have a conversation. So this system seems to have worked best for me, and it's basically the average of what you guys have spent previously before. I might say perhaps even less. Perhaps even less, because there is no, the door's not open. What is that? This is $1. This is $1. Don't come and ask me for anything else. This is $1 all in for the year.
Yes, sir. Just out of curiosity, does the town receive, similar to what an attorney would do, a monthly or periodic tab of what their activities were and they charge against retainer? Does that happen with the engineer as well?
Not
Well, you know your balances. I know we would know anyway, but to see if it checks.
That's a fantastic question. Let me answer it 2 ways. On the retainer, because of the flat fee, you would not. However, associated with the projects, if you go and look through any of your capital projects that you have in the binder, and you'll see their engineering fee. What I've now had them do is break that into 5 different categories for every engineering project. And every bill that they submit is now charged against the line. So I know exactly where they are on each of the tasks at all times.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're up to tab 12. Oh, sorry, Mike.
Since you're on that tab, the redevelopment line 173.
That's a huge increase. That's if he's asking about the 47,500. That is all of the work that our planner needs to do for our overlay zones in order for us to be in code compliance. So it's a 1-year hit.
Mr. Porio, would you please explain for the general public what COA is?
It's Council on Affordable Housing. One of our esteemed members asked last week about Mount Laurel. It's kind of where everybody used to be tied into the Mount Laurel decision.
And this, for the general public, is a decision of the New Jersey State Supreme Court regarding affordable housing throughout the state of New Jersey, and each municipality has an obligation to provide the potential of affordable housing. And we are coming to a close on our with the court on that, are we not, Mr. Porio?
Yes, sir.
So we want to thank Mr. Porio, our Finance Committee, our attorneys who have helped us come up with a fair and just settlement for the Borough of River Edge. We're now on tab 12, line 28. Professional service for land use seems to be popping up 1,600. Can you explain?
Yeah, typically, our planner is assigned to an applicant. The only times when we go ahead and we pull our planner, for example, if a company wants to come in and have a conversation with us about a possible redevelopment, the planner is not on a retainer, basically. I mean, he's on an hourly rate. So last year we had a couple circumstances where we basically didn't have anywhere to charge it to. So we've gone ahead and now added some additional funds into that, and then eventually we would charge into that line.
Okay, tab 13 now, unless there are questions. Line 101 and 28. The zoning officers for 14,000 plus 6.5 thousand was removed, and contracted zoning was added for 35,000. Why did we make this swap? Why make this swap when it costs so small? Also, there seems to be a typo in 101 where it says we spent 12,496.
So why make the swap? If you go back to and take a look at, and just, Councilman, are you talking about why swap accounts, or why go from having an employee to a contractual?
I remember when we made that switch. So it's not costing us more, you're saying?
What's that? Yeah, I mean, what you have, this is one of the really interesting things that kind of like I dealt with when I first got here. Our zoning officer had left.
Okay.
The budget was established, and it was set up in these accounts, and then, okay, what are we gonna do? Well, we need a zoning officer like today, so let's go ahead and get, allow Burgess to go ahead and have Burgess do it. But the Burgess into the budget, we needed to put into an O&E account, we got put over into this account.
Okay.
So this is, it was kind of
It's a wash.
all over, no, but even budgetarily, it was all over the place.
Right.
I think I cleaned it up, and now have it all, I've reduced all the other line items, and now I have it under one account, it's relatively a wash.
Okay.
So, we're now at tab 20, question A, line 77. Why is the communication other budget dropping, well, I'll just read both of them. Communication other dropping 13,009K, and same line, no, different line, 177. Why is that up 6K?
And if you notice one drop, one increase,
Yeah.
it's just moving whatever those items in the items above that, dropped into the line that was increased. The 77 off the top of my head dealt more with, internet and, those type of connections where the line below it deals more with contractual services. So it's relatively a push, while some costs did go up slightly in that second line. It's really a charging off an item to what makes more sense.
Okay, I think question 16 has already been answered. If there's no objection, I'll go to question 17. Question 17, tab 23, so if we can all turn to tab 23, the green tab. Line 192, why no special ops budget?
Spoke to the police, I spoke to the fire chief on this, he had explained to me that years ago, they had a dedicated unit within the fire department called Special Ops. He said they haven't had that unit, that grouping set up like that in years. So my guess was it made it into the budget and it was just never adjusted.
So what happens if we need special apps now?
Bergen County, as well as tri-borough support.
Okay.
But that was one of the reasons I opposed the, opposed generally, and questioned the former chief on the purchase of the new vehicle, because that was the special ops vehicle that he was
We
replacing.
go to the head council.
Well, we haven't had the special ops team, being a special ops team in quite a while.
Okay.
So I didn't see the point in that. All right, everybody, we are now on B, line 196. Seems to have a jump in software contract by 1,200, if that could be clarified.
We had acquired a software program. Within that software program, had an initial fee associated with it. After the life expectancy of that contract, which was 5 years, drops off. Now we end up picking up a fee. So a lot of software companies will do that. Edmunds is doing that. SDL, other companies will do that. So they give you a better rate for the next couple of years, and then ultimately you go ahead and have to pick up the cost.
What software is that?
Do you not know it's not?
Okay.
If you'd like, I'd be more than happy to find out for you.
Just curious.
Okay, if the committee can now turn to purple tab 28, line 30. Why is garage supplies down 4,000, line 178? Is salt and sand really going up for the year? We've had no snow. And tab 30, and we'll stop there because the next one is a new tab. Go ahead.
So garage supplies is based upon what they spent last year. When I went ahead and I took a look at the report, as I wrote in my email, they spent $10,642, left a balance of $5,357.87. I only reduced it $4,000, thinking that it may be something, give them a little wiggle room, whether it's more bills coming in and that number may be skewed, or they need, a couple extra bucks. I didn't want to cut it too long. And salt, guys, this is a one I struggle with all the time. Every public works director, including myself in my public life, my previous life, asked for more money for salt. Every council there is then posed with the challenge of playing the guessing game. Because at the end of the day, you don't know. I mean, I've gone years like this where I think we've had 2 inches of snow, and then come November,
It's a foot and a half.
it's a foot and a half, and it's a foot and a half back to back.
Yeah.
Storms like that. I've gone where we had no real big snowstorms in a year, but you have enough that the guys are out there salting every 3 days, it seems like, because of.
Let me ask you that too. As a liaison to DPW, one of the problems we had one year was we had purchased enough salt. The budget seemed good. We had a very bad winter. We then had to go and make an emergency appropriations to buy more salt. We purchased the salt, but it was they were telling us 3 weeks until we get it. So salt salt is just one thing that it's better to over budget than under budget.
And the worst case scenario, it ends up being a surplus where you could put it into.
And it doesn't go anywhere. It's sitting there.
Right.
So now, if we could all move to tab 31, line 168. And while you're doing that, I'll read the question. Why is maintenance dropping 21K?
This is, in this particular line, they had budgeted for tree treatment. That tree treatment has been completed. Instead of zeroing out or reducing their budget by that dollar amount, they had asked for the ability to go ahead and use the amount of where it drops off to be able to do some additional projects, as you see shown reflected in your spreadsheet. That budget ultimately remained flat. And then in this particular budget, there was also a request for some additional townwide trees. I did not put the request into the operating budget because of the financial impact that it would have had on the operating budget. I put that out to capital because $50,000 worth of trees in the operating budget is a big hit. But I think it's something that I'm recommending.
And I'm also recommending it. We don't do trees every year. We do them in pieces because there is an additional cost of the flatbed truck, of the backhoe, of the planting. And so so instead of doing $25,000 a year, we do $50,000 in 2 years or 3 years, depending on how flush or thin the budget is. But I would like to say, having been liaison to Shade Tree, the number of trees we lost on Sandy, and then the number of trees that our DPW takes down every year, we have never had a positive number of plantings. In other words, what I'm saying is, even if you take Sandy out, every year we take down more trees than every 2 years, because we try to do it in a 2-year cycle. We take down more trees than we plant. And I don't want us ending up looking like another town I want to be on YouTube saying our residents' property value is dependent upon several factors. Curb appeal is one of those factors. And as I walk around the town, both campaigning and walking my dog, the streets that are missing trees do not look as appealing as those who do. And so we really do need to make this commitment so that we maintain the property values for our residents. So I think the $50,000 is a reasonable and practical number.
And I just would like to add the ancillary costs that go along with the tree plantings. And you can correct me if I'm wrong there. It's actually fiscally prudent to do it all at once than to kind of, to slice it up, 25,000 this year, 25,000 this year, because we're paying for the flat, we would be paying for the
And
flat
we'd be
pay.
planting fewer trees.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, Teresa?
Yes. Getting back to tree maintenance, there still is money in the budget to trim some trees.
Well, we always have that, but I'll let Mr. Porio speak to that.
Yeah, the trimming of the trees is a function of Public Works, not the shade tree.
And they go out every day.
Yeah. It's not reflective upon this budget or that particular question, but yes. Okay.
Councilwoman Bastidas.
So you mentioned that this particular maintenance project is over. That was the Emerald Ash Borer. Is that the money?
It's not over.
But it's nearing completion, and we won't
It
need.
will never near
But we
completion.
won't need this huge one-time. This huge. It's not. We're not going to be budgeting $25,000.
Next year?
Right.
We don't have the answer to that. Do you want to?
What I understand it to be is that it's every other year, or I may be wrong on this answer, I'm certainly wrong to find out, whether it's every other year or every third year that you have to go ahead and do that treatment. And again, as I talked a little bit with the SIF about the ups and downs of budgets, I tried to keep it flat rather than having it drop down 25 and then next year we have to raise it 25. This year we won't need it. This year I've gone ahead and I put in, as I said, some additional projects into there that they have requested. Next year, if we ultimately end up needing it, those individual projects that we put into that line would be taken out, and then you would go ahead and be able to do the treatment.
Are we okay doing stumps every other year?
No, we do stumps every year.
Okay. But I thought,
The stumps are in there.
Your stumps are in every year. We get a contract. Shade Tree has a good relationship.
Line 160.
And then, but we start grinding around this time of the year, but we don't grind throughout the year because, again, grinding every month is more expensive than hiring a contractor and saying, we want you to do these. And right now, I believe we're up to date, where there was a time when, during 2008, 2009, 2010, where there was no budget for it, and there were stumps that were sitting around 5-6 years.
The budget for the grinding, that's for an outside contractor?
Yes.
Would it make sense for us to look into getting our own grinder?
We did. We looked into that, but there is a big question of insurance and training. And we just, our superintendent of DPW, the previous one and the current one, both feel that it is too great a risk. Because if an injury occurs with the grinder, you're talking losing an employee, maybe going on lifetime disability, and so we just, also the grinders require a lot of maintenance, and we just feel that financially, from both the healthcare, employee safety, and a cost, that it actually makes more sense for us to hire out. So we did look at that. We did look at that. Okay, I believe we're up to tab B, line, and I'll give everybody a chance to turn to red tab B. Why is the line 176? Why is miscellaneous vandalism repeating at $441? What is it? And line 190, does it really cost $2,200 a year to test surveillance cameras and sprinklers?
The $441, according to our public works director, is for miscellaneous items that occur within our parks. If a mirror gets broken, spray paint on the door, that's what they've utilized or utilized that line for before in the past. And your second component of the question, surveillance cameras, that was an oddball to me as well too. How could it cost us $2,200 for maintenance of surveillance cameras? That line, as I understand it, hasn't been utilized in years, and that's why if you look at your budget document, you'll see a slash next to surveillance cameras that says sprinkler tax. In 2019, the state came out with a new law that stated that all of the sprinklers have to be tested by an outside company and certified. Our public works director has got a quote for our 7-8 buildings that we have, which equals the $2,200 that you see reflected into your budget.
so it really does cost us $2,200 a year for the sprinklers? Okay.
Councilwoman Bastidas.
Can I just make a comment on line 186, Roosevelt School bathrooms, just on the record, that's for the exterior bathroom that's used by the sports teams, not an interior bathroom, or is
Go
it?
to the second page, it's actually the camp building, they call it Roosevelt
Breaks it
bathroom,
out.
but it's all of the public facility bathrooms that we possess, so it's
Right.
kick-off is.
Why do we call it Roosevelt School bathrooms? I
That's a
don't-
good question.
I think it should be called something else.
That heading could be changed.
Yeah, so where it says Roosevelt School bathrooms, if the detail is really
Everything.
not
Public
that,
park
yeah.
bathroom.
Public park or public bathrooms. This is the one, the exterior one, I think we should change the heading of line 186 from Roosevelt School bathrooms to public park bathrooms, something like that.
No problem going ahead and doing that. Matter of fact, there's probably about 15 to 20 lines that the directors have asked me to go ahead and change. I have not, I think as I teed up in the beginning of my budget presentation, I didn't change anything, because I
That's
really
fine.
tried to keep it same, so, you know, you can kind of relate to last year, but I have no problem.
Does Councilwoman Bastide need to send you a
No,
email
no,
reminding you?
that's an easy, that's an Edmonds adjustment.
Okay.
No, no action.
I think it's just more clearer if we define it correctly.
Okay, so I ask everyone to turn to blue tab K. While you're doing that, I'm going to read line,
I'm sorry.
oh, I'm sorry, we're back at D?
Yeah, just for a second, just.
Red D.
I just noticed this. In line 166, maintenance of the grounds, it says maintenance of the 911 Memorial Gardens is $62.50 a year. We're spending $7,000 a year on, what is that maintenance entail?
The maintenance of the grounds is over by the library. There's that 911 memorial. They come in, they do all the plantings, they do the chemical treatments, they do reshore up the rocks.
This is our DPW, or we have an outside
It's an
contractor?
outside contract.
Had this used to be open space?
It used to be open space, it was moved into this account. However, I have asked our Public Works Director. I have my concerns with that expenditure.
I mean, they should be maintained, don't get me wrong, but it just
I
seems
don't
like
know.
$7,000 a year for, I mean, I walk by that all the time.
It had been requested as open space in previous years.
Right.
That's how the monies were allocated in the
Yeah.
past.
I'm not sure that $7,000, quite frankly, is I need to get a years under my belt of understanding the maintenance associated with it. I had asked the Public Works Director, and we are going to closely monitor that to see if that's not a function that we can go ahead and take in-house going forward in 2021.
Yeah, I mean,
Good catch. Are we ready? Blue tab K. Oh, no? Stay back on D.
No, yellow J.
Yellow J. Oh, we can do yellow J. Line, Mr.
100?
Butler?
Line 100, inside the included second page, where it talks about what the items, I know we talked about this at the large portion of the jump was the $5,000 budgeted to keep the seniors happy with food. Question is, can they solicit outside people for donations, or is it, can we solicit, you know, is there a way to offset that money by getting outside vendors to support the sport?
My
I don't know if it's legally.
my senior club previous, their presidents, and I have a little smile on my face because they had no bones about beating the bushes to invite everybody under the sun to come in, from a real estate agent to a car broker to, if you want to come talk to all of our seniors, and all it costs is a tray of sandwiches, some coffee and cake. But that's really more of an internal organizational issue rather than a governmental function. I don't know necessarily that we're going to be out there trying to create sponsorships or those type of relationships with seniors. Usually that's handled as an outside, as a quasi-government organization. Typically we would handle that themselves. It's something that I certainly go ahead and talk to the senior group about, or Carol and I can say, hey, we increased the funding for you this year, but understand, you know, perhaps you're at a cap now, and if there's anything else that you're looking to do on top of that, and, you know, we need to start looking at other potential revenue sources than tax dollars.
I wouldn't go there yet. We're building the community center, which is going to serve as a base for the seniors. We're building the kitchen. Let's see how everything bears out there before we start sending those ultimatums to them. I don't think it's necessary.
No, I know. I don't think we should go there yet.
Because my only thing is, once we do transfer to the kitchen, do they then want $10,000 to fund the kitchen?
Well, one of the things when we transfer the kitchen is, Councilman Gordier, had talked about that there are county services to bring in food. It's one of the reasons we're going to the more expensive kitchen.
Right.
Because originally, my position on the community center is I didn't want a full kitchen. I wanted simply a warming kitchen to keep the issue of bugs and food and who's cleaning what down. But Councilman Gordier made a great suggestion that we can get some services for them that they might.
And if we didn't have a full kitchen, that would never be an option, ever. Also, when you're dealing with a highly susceptible population to foodborne illness, you want to have the proper facilities to be able to make sure as much as possible that that does not happen.
Right. Yeah, but I was just looking at it from that perspective, is now they have a full kitchen, and now they go, oh, we need a budget of 10 grand so we can feed ourselves, so that's a full kitchen.
No, we're not putting a full kitchen in for that. I like your thinking, I really do.
You know, with the availability of the full kitchen, it gives them the availability to then maybe.
Sourcing.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's.
Things at home and bring it there and heat it up.
And there is an additional benefit. We really want to, I really want, for us to be able to rent the space out to our residents like the VFW used to be.
Yeah.
Used to have bar mitzvahs, you have First Holy Communions, 70th birthdays. So all those local family events that you just can't do in your own home. And so if we have a full kitchen and we have an appropriate fee schedule, especially for cleanup afterwards, then that full kitchen would invite more of these wonderful family events in our town facility. I think everybody's on board with that, right?
Mayor, may I suggest a 5-minute break?
Okay, a 5-minute break?
That's okay. That's okay. I just didn't want.
The Citizen Budget Committee meeting of March 6th, all members previously roll called are still here. Mr. Purio, I believe we are now on tab K. Everyone, if you could turn to tab K. Line 44, while you do that, I'll read the question. To what is the $7,000 drop due?
Again, that's the accounting. It was membership for, or the fee for Community Pass and another software component, and being charged off for maintenance, membership and dues, and it didn't make sense in that line. So we just moved to the other line.
Tab L, it is blue L. There is, I don't know what line it is, there's a 40,000 pop in, or increase in parks O&E. Were we overspending? No, this is the bottom line, everyone. This is the bottom line.
Yeah, I think the question is, there was a $40,000 increase in parks, in park maintenance, and why was that? And those were some of the dollars that were moved from open space into the operating budget. Okay, blue tab, capital M, lowercase c. If everyone could turn to that one. So not M, but MC tab. Line 448 is a $20,000 increase in our electric, if that could be clarified. That overall budget has two. Typically with utilities, budget, depending upon how you set it up. In many cases, they roll, all of them. The way that we have it set up here is gas and electric. The title is in one line. We budgeted $250,000 for that. We currently, at the point in time, when I ran the report, you had $247,585.50. That was spent. So that's a balance of about $2,000-3,000. In my opinion, that line is light. We need to increase it, but if you look at overall in the lines associated with that budget, I've adjusted some other accounts as well too.
Further questions? Because this one takes a little time to absorb. Seeing none, we certainly come back to it. If everyone go to orange tab Q, line 36, office supplies. Why, it's some clarification on the office supply budget. It seems to be going down $2,000.
Yeah, that line overall was reduced based upon what they had spent. However, when I look at the total O&E line, or the total O&E line, there still was about $3,000 that was left in O&E overall. So I felt it was okay to reduce that line by the dollar amount that I did. And any additional costs could be absorbed by the balance left in the account.
Keeping on that page, I see that professional services and cost went up $3,000. Line 28.
This is the court, correct? I believe that's the count.
That's the credit card, right?
Yeah, it's on the book in front of me.
It's the credit card fee, we just added that.
I'm not hurting the time.
Yeah, that's for the credit card thing.
Because we just added that.
So we can, I've added some additional money into that budget with the thought process that we could go ahead and moving forward, be able to collect revenues through credit cards right after the court session is over. The defendant would be able to come out and pay.
Get them while they're here.
Well, and that'll improve our collection rate, because
Right.
we've had challenges.
Well, yeah, what I'm gonna say.
So it'll be offset by revenues.
Right, because
Get them while they're here.
That's a thought process, right? Returning back to closed session
Yeah.
conversation we had on that topic. I think that'll fill in the blanks.
Okay, and the other question, let's see. I see membership, meetings and seminars are up 950 for court.
Yeah.
I can pull it up on the screen if I just.
Line 41.
41.
Rick, take my book, if it doesn't have those
Oh,
elements.
you flip to the page, there's a comparison of what the difference is. Membership and seminars,
Uh-huh.
here are the seminars. Part of the increase,
This way you can look.
part of the increase associated with that, be able to allow the court administrator to be able to go out to lead the municipalities, to be able to get her CEUs, which is probably clearly the best bang for the buck that you can go, is go to the league and pick up 10 CEUs in like 3 days. The second issue is you have a deputy court administrator who is basically a freshman. When I say freshman, she's very new to the industry, and it allows her to go ahead and do some additional trainings and pick up some additional CEU credits.
Mr. Porio, just for the general public, would you explain the acronym and why it's important? Why it's required? CEUs.
CEUs are continuing education. Any of us that have licensing issued by the state of New Jersey, I have 3. Nuts. I have 3, the court administrator has 1, the CFO has 2. We are required to do a continuing education. We have to basically sit in classes and continue to get educated in the discipline for which we've done our state certification in.
And it's a benefit to the borough that we provide this opportunity. In the long term, it actually brings down costs. And it assures that our professionals are up to date and therefore serving the general public in the very best way. Everyone, we're turning now to tab, S, line 430-2. Tab S, it is an orange tab, 430-2. The question is clarification about the change in electrical. We've budgeted 18 last year, and we're budgeting 24K this year.
Again, much like the other utility accounts, I gave you the bottom line total of what we had spent year to date, along with some forecasts and stuff too. The electrical line, quite frankly, is light in that area. If you go back and you look at the other utilities, have also done some decreases in those lines to ultimately offset the bottom line.
Okay, this seems to, this question on page 7 where is the page where it shows our cap bank for various years? Where were we, where are we with the debt level ratio? How much cap bank are we expecting to use this year? Question.
Okay, so, in order to fill out both of your, back up, there is a worksheet that the state provides that we go ahead and fill out. We right now are waiting on one piece of information from our assessor in order to complete that worksheet. There's also additional information regarding your appropriation cap and your levy cap. I provided to the finance chair as well too. And the additional information from our tax assessor, I should have this week. So, what you're really dealing with is projected numbers. The projected numbers in talking with our CFO is that, and really where council utilizes these bank numbers is, I'm allowed to go up X dollars on appropriation, and I'm allowed to go up X dollars on levy. Council's concerns usually is can I live within those dollars? That's really your biggest issue is, the state says, you're locked into, you can only go up this much on what you can raise taxes, and you can only go up this much on what you can raise appropriations. The end of the day, or the net of it is, on both of your caps are right there. It does not look like you're going to have to use any significant dollar amount associated with either your levy cap or your appropriation cap. On your appropriation cap, I believe I put in there, once we get that one piece of information from our assessor, right now I have you slated to go anywhere from maybe 0 to 5,000 eating into your bank. But we feel, Chris and I feel that once we get that additional information from our assessor, that will change the numbers around, so probably you won't go up anything. So the good news is you're living it within both of your caps.
Mr. Pereira, if you just take 30 seconds and for the general public, define levy cap and appropriation cap, those two terms.
Yeah, so the state says, okay, you can go ahead and only raise taxes
And that's levy.
X amount, and that's a levy cap. Your appropriations cap, and this is kind of one of the personally ones that I feel is an oddball one, it says, no matter how much you raise taxes and no matter how much you have in surplus, you still can only go up to X. So if I won the $200 million lottery, the Mega Millions that I bought a ticket for, may not be here next week, and I said, I want to go ahead and I want to hire 50 new employees and I'm going to donate it to the town and here it is and I'm going to rate, I can't do it. Isn't that crazy? But those are the two different counts.
So appropriations is therefore how much we can spend, and levies is how much we can take in,
Yes, sir.
just for the general public. Question 2. I do not see 3 bids for various cap expenses plans, PSB's expense plans.
Yeah.
Is that because you just gave us the low bid numbers for tabs 18, tab 20, tab 28?
Okay, so maybe if I can interject for a second here. Right now, we're starting to get into capital.
Yeah.
So if we could take a moment and just, I'm looking for some clarity from you as a council, from the Citizen Budget Committee. Is there any other questions from the operating perspective that you have that
Good
you
point.
answer? Number one. And number 2 is, hopefully after I have answered or satisfied all of your questions, I'm going to be looking to you to provide me some direction as if you're comfortable with the tax rate of where you stand today. Is it something that you want me to go ahead and use a finalized budget document and put it together for you to be able to introduce? So those are my 2 questions.
Those are 2 great questions. I'm going to ask the council wait, and let's first poll the citizen budget. Ken, Anthony, Teresa, do you have any questions? First of all, if you can explain to them what our tax rate is right now. I think it's $99.53. Tax increase?
I believe that is the case. $99.53. So it's exactly where, when I started the presentation, it's exactly where, even with some of the changes, you were at where I said you would be.
Questions, concerns, comments would also be very, very much welcomed.
As long as those services remain the way they are and we don't need anything in that area, I'm okay with $99.
I agree. With regard to the capital improvement, does that $99 plus number reflect any amounts that need to be put into the budget excluding bonding? You know, I don't remember the terminology, the down payment. It's not a correct word.
The capital budget as presented, anything associated with the capital budget that relates to the municipal budget, how they tie together, is factored into that $99.25.
And just one additional, a little out of sync, but as a senior citizen, and I may forget later. I brought it up briefly and I was speaking too long and held the meeting up to Ray, but I have to bring it up now. This is a perception, and briefly, if I may state, when I did work for a living, we put budgets together with the administration and the BA, called the principals and the directors and supervisors and have them defend it, did all the nitty-gritty. Then we would go to the Board of Ed Finance Committee, argue, debate, shake hands, hug appropriately, and put everything together. Then we bring it to the full Board of Ed and have an open debate. I was on the Lauderdale Board of Ed and I've been a Finance Committee chair in the past, and we did it a similar way. We worked everything out on a Finance Committee level, then brought it to the full board and we had our hearings. I sense that this is what you've begun to do here in town. And if my perception is correct, I applaud your efforts because I think that's the efficient, fair way to do things, and not having as much longevity as Ken and Al as the third person. We used to witness fierce debates, not nasty, but just debates, and it seems like it could have been done at a different level. So if you're doing that now, bravo. I've spoken my piece.
Thank you, Mr. Baveri. Mr. Cronin.
Yeah, I agree on the numbers, and I sent them both Anthony, because, sitting here a long, long time. The process was, and again, everybody's got their due. Alan was fabulous, discourse about him, but the new process seems to be a much
Streamlined. It's streamlined.
much better.
Praise to Ray and our CFO, Chris. Good job.
For filling the gap between Alan and him, so you guys did a good job.
And Teresa, I called you Teresa, and I called the others by their last name, so Ms. Esposito. Thank you. Thank you. So,
If I get one more statement.
absolutely, and even after we move back to asking counsel, if you want to, we're still here, so you're still part.
It's something I've said every year.
Go ahead.
To delineate all of the good stuff you guys do from what the tax bill is, right? How many of us sit at a dinner party and say the tax bill's ridiculous? Thankless to the public. Realizing that on an average homeowner, I'll say is about $12,000, 25% of their tax bill is what you guys do. Provide all of these services. If you have an issue with your tax bill, go see your school board. There's your tax bill. Don't come in. Go to the school boards.
Well, we do clarify that for the public when they come to see us. I know I've walked the town now 4 times for 4 different elections, well, more than that, because I've walked for other elections, and I've pointed out to people, I've looked at their house and pretty much been able to get within $500 of what their tax bill is, and then reminded them that we are within 1/10 of a point, usually, year after year, exactly 25%. So if you think about that, you're getting a full-time police department, you're getting, in the police department, you're getting detectives, you're getting investigative units, you got a full-time DPW who does a phenomenal job with snow and leaf removal, and most importantly, and people don't realize how this important is, cleaning out storm drains. Flooding is at an all-time low in River Edge. And it's because of the great job our DPW does. They're outstanding. We have a volunteer fire department, which we fully, we give them all the equipment they need and all the support that they need, and that's saving the taxpayers a ton of money. We have an excellent administration, business office, and support offices. And we have professionals who are doing a great job of preventing us from being sued, dealing with crisis. And in addition to that, I should go back, when we have a problem with our storm drains or sewage, our DPW usually gets the street open, fixed, and closed in 24 hours. And that is a huge benefit. And
Library.
the library, we have, in my opinion, the best library in Bergen County. It's not just a library, it actually exists right now as a community center. We have phenomenal events, and Darrell O'Connor is doing a great job. And Regal, and our recreation, and what Carolyn, obviously Carolyn's name wrong. Valdamsa. What she's doing, and before that, Bobby Conway, what she was doing, we just have all these wonderful services, and we do it for 1/4 of their bill, and on the average home, that usually comes in somewhere around $3,000 to $4,000, and if you divide that by 12 months, or divide it by 365, you're getting a huge value.
There's no doubt, and that's, that's a key component of advertising, right? Because you sit at these parties and people go, what else can you cut for me? And you go, well, then it's a quality of life.
Yeah.
I've been here since Peg Watkins. We cut every toilet cartridge and papers for time.
Yeah.
Now it's just, it's all about
Services.
quality of life.
Yeah.
Right? So if you want us to save money, we'll pick up your garbage less. We won't go scrape your roads every 20 seconds with the DPW in the snow. We'll save you money. But that's your call.
Yeah.
And most people don't want that.
We don't want
Yeah.
that, absolutely not.
So go see your school board about your tax.
And this $99 figure, that is for, as we've talked about in the past, that is for the majority of the houses here in River Edge. That's what their impact's gonna
No,
be.
that's the median.
Median.
The median, the middle. There's the mean, median, and mode.
Right.
This is median, so if you take all the
The
houses.
85%, the figure that we talked about in the
Yes, it's the majority of the town. Give or take a few dollars.
Yeah.
Would you agree, Mr. Fiorio? I almost did it. I'm getting better.
It's average assessed, it's the middle ground, the average assessed value.
All right. So, Councilwoman Cascade.
Sorry, thank you. I just have 3 things. I just wanted to alert the council and the citizens that we had a request from the Stigma Free Initiative to provide them with some funding for their public outreach. They were looking for $750. Mr. Porio has identified a line within the Board of Health's budget for outreach that they will be able to utilize. So thank you. I just wanted the council and the citizens to know that we are going to be able to provide that. The other thing, as I had mentioned last week, I had asked, I don't see the Employee Assistance Program shared service with the county. I couldn't find it in here. That's like a 5-year contract. I believe we're still in. I just want to make sure that that wasn't overlooked.
I don't have the answer,
Okay.
but I will get you.
Okay, because that is a multiple-year contract that we're still in.
And that's very important.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we continue to provide that to our employees and that it's not overlooked.
Yeah. Ellen, could you clarify for the Citizen Budget Committee exactly what that program
So
is?
the Employee Assistance Program, we share a service with the county. It's a referral service for our employees if they're having any emotional, financial issues which they need professional assistance with. They can contact this number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and get a social worker or a psychologist who will assess their need and refer them to the appropriate services. This council felt that it was very important to give our employees that option. So I just want to make sure that's not overlooked. Okay. The other thing was, again, a shared service item. I don't know whether or not the county DPW would do shared service for stump grinding, but whether or not it would be a more economical arrangement rather than going with a private contractor, as long as the response time and everything was not reduced, we may want to approach
Check
them.
into that, yeah.
Lisa, would you bring that to
I
Shade
definitely
Tree?
will. Yeah.
Thank you.
The next
And
meeting.
Mr. Porter, you'll look into that?
Sure.
I do have a question on capital, but we're getting there, right? So I'll
Yeah,
hold that
we're
question.
almost there.
Okay, that was it, thank you.
Anything else on operating budget? Or,
I just don't think we should introduce till we have a conversation with the New Jersey Investment Fund. Because,
how long would that conversation take?
I don't know, I assume we could get them on the phone this week, right?
Yeah,
Because if we
I'd
have,
like for us to plan a date, and then if we have to push that date back, that would be fine.
Okay.
I always
Well, we have
find it's
another
better to
meeting
set a
Wednesday,
date
right?
And then push back, than not have a date.
because if they do think it's gonna be 1% this year, that's a $50,000 swing. that We would have to figure out.
might I
Go ahead,
frame it out this way? I think the councilwoman, myself, as CFO.
hold a second. Anthony, do you have a question about what we're talking about?
I was daydreaming and I lost, the next meeting is only, I'm sorry.
I think, no, see, the question becomes, the question being posed is, I had asked them and said, okay, you've done all the operating, you're content with the $99 fee? Can I go ahead and now have instructions for preparing the documents for the deduction? The councilwoman, the councilwoman has said that she still,
He was carrying on the mic. Go ahead.
the councilwoman still has concerns regarding the one particular line with the interest rate. So if we introduce, she feels that we may have a hole. What my suggestion is, if it's okay with the council and our finance chair, is that I see no reason why Monday, Tuesday, the finance chair, myself and Chris can't have a conversation with the investment company, number one. Number two, I think, if certainly she feels comfortable, and we're within a certain range, that I'm not going to do huge swings either way into the budget or on the tax rate or along those lines, I'd like to be able to start getting to work on getting you guys introduced. Because you still can amend the budget. Once you've introduced the budget, you still can amend it. The only difference we've had this year is I think we've had the ability to work through, as the Citizen Budget Committee has said, a lot of those logs that you used to have when you used to amend the budget. It was like a 16-page sheet where you would go back and forth and up $2, down, whatever. I think we've kind of got most of that out of the way. So you still have the ability to go ahead and amend the budget even when you're introduced. So if you're okay with that, and you're okay with that, and it seems like the Citizen Budget.
So I was talking to Councilwoman Kaufman, our finance chair for the general public. I'd like for us, I recommend to the council that we move ahead with introducing it, and then certainly, if we have to have a regular meeting during the council, take some time out of our regular meeting, or if we have to call an additional meeting, we can do that. But I'd like for us to move forward in the process, and then if we need to go back and correct, we can, if there's no objection.
So when are you thinking, the 23rd? Or are you thinking next meeting?
No.
Not next week.
No, the 20, I believe it's Monday, that's my calendar. Not, obviously not Monday, I need to take a look at the timeline.
So the meeting after that would be,
Like the next 2 weeks, I think it is.
yeah, the meeting after that would be 2 weeks after, yeah, the
it's gonna take
23rd.
it's gonna take some time on our end.
Yeah.
Not only from there, but from the capital budget as well, too. I just want to, try, and one more aside that kind of ties into this, and you touched on COA. We had some COA deadlines that have been asked by our planner, if there's a possibility of having an additional council meeting this month. So I need to have this conversation with you.
So when we finish this meeting, we should have that.
No, well, the reason I'm saying that is that it's another opportunity where perhaps that we'll be getting together, that if you so chose, and weren't at a comfortable level after our conference call, we could always parlay that into a budget discussion as well, too.
All right. Are we good with that? Good. Are we good with that? Over here? Good. All right, now we're into capital, correct?
So the 3 bids, you're saying it's just because it's first estimate, so you will have 3 bids?
Yeah, so let me do a general.
Where are,
So we're in the front of the binder. In the front of the binder before tab 1 is, correct, Mr. Poirier? Is the general documentation, and then of course we have the tabs if we need to go into any details of the capital, and those are the white tabs.
So let me give you, because there was 4 or 5 questions about this, let me give you a general overview on purchasing and procurement that kind of knocks a couple questions out at once. Professional services, attorneys, architects, engineers, there are 2 ways that you can go ahead and procure them. You can put out an RFP, have people submit proposals in, you evaluate the proposals, and make a decision. The second way, which is what the council has done predominantly, is you do a non-fair bid opening, you say, I like this one. This is who we're comfortable with, this is who we like, this is who we have a track record with, and that's called a non-fair bid open contract. So in some of the questions where you have, where it relates to professionals, who we use is yet to be determined by you. What I did get is try to give you a baseline information to say, okay, I got a quote from this guy on a professional, I got a quote from this guy on a professional, and at least that gives you a budgetary number to work on. But ultimately, how you procure and who you procure or who you hire, you have different avenues afforded to you. Second issue, items over $40,000, where they're asking, are there more quotes for items over $40,000? The answer to that is no. And the reason to the answer to that is no is that anything over $40,000 has to go out to bid or be purchased off of a contract. So you're not going to see multiple items, you're not going to see multiple quotes for a $40,000 item or over, unless it's purchased off of a county co-op, state contract, and I'll use one of the examples, the electrical project over at the Public Works Ground, which we're going to talk about. It's estimated that that's a $200,000 project. However, that is not something you're going to be able just to award to somebody, even if you like Ray's construction. We're going to have the engineer and the architect are going to have to go ahead with bid specs together and put that out to bid. So they'll give you they'll give you also harder construction estimates or more detailed construction estimates of what that cost is. So I want to kind of give you a general overview on capital, because that perhaps answers some of your questions that you have put together.
Okay, the procedure we're going on is reading the question, and Mr. Poirier was answering them. I'm just going to read the entire page, and you can read his answers. For this one, I think we can read his answers. And if there are questions of that, of those answers, we can then we can ask them. If we're satisfied, we can move on. Top of page 7. Where is the page where we show the cap bank for various years, and where are we with the debt level ratio? How much of the cap bank are we expecting to use this year? Mr. Poirier's response is the levy cap, which he's already talked about. In this proposed 2020 budget, we're not utilizing any cap bank, although we have approximately $430,000 available to use. When the final budget is agreed upon, we will fill out a state
levy cap book.
Okay, because it was spelled wrong. Okay, state levy cap book. Appropriation cap in 2020 budget. We are still waiting on the assessed value of the new construction. However, its likelihood, the likelihood is that we will be utilizing 0 to 5K for the current bank. With that said, we are still we have additional 330,000 or 330K that could be utilized. Questions about number 1? Going to number 2. He's actually answered the one about 3 bids. Are there any questions about number 2? Give everybody a moment.
This is going to be introduced as part of the record today, this email?
Yes.
I'm more than happy to include that as part of the record.
Well, I think we'll have to, because we're just kind of saying things like question number 2, and this way if somebody needs to look back to it.
Tab 18 is white tab 18. There is an option A and B listed in it. Question, are we doing plan A or B? Mr. Porio, if you could just give us a brief summary and a response.
Yeah, this ties back into the garage that I was just talking about.
Right.
You're gonna need an architect and an engineer. This includes, the funding in this year's capital budget includes soft costs for both of the architect and the engineer. It does not include funding the hard costs at this point in time.
It sounded like B was better, though, right?
I understand where you're coming from that. I thought so A and B, what the councilwoman is referring to, when we move forward with doing the work at the garage, there are 2 different options associated with how we approach it.
Mr. Porio, just for the general public as well, we're talking about BPW garage that is on the east part of town and where we keep all of our major equipment. Go ahead.
So, one way is to try to re-pull your existing electrical lines that are inside the buildings, and it's trying to re-pull through the existing chases and try to rehook everything up onto where the new boxes are located. Or B is basically start fresh. And I'm more of the opinion of B, that you're better off to start fresh than rather trying to piecemeal somebody else's old work. You take everything out, and when I say everything, all the electrical components, and you take it out, you put it all brand new stuff, that way for the next 25 years, you know you have no headache.
So do we need to pay for soft costs for A? Like, could we have them do the plans for B and then decide without paying for the plans for A?
You're still gonna need to budget for both. The architect is going to come in, the architect is gonna come in, and we need updated plans of that building. So he's gonna draw the building.
Okay.
And then the electrical engineer is gonna go ahead and say, take the plans that the architect does and say, this is how you go ahead and for bid specs. So you're gonna need both. We need both professional services.
Questions from our citizens or council? Councilman Batiste?
This architectural firm is the same firm that we used for the library roofs, correct? Mr. Police, I believe it is. Okay, just wanted on the...
Yeah, and again, that's ultimately a council decision, please go ahead. I mean, those 2 proposals, if you do as a budget.
So, under tab 18, there's a follow-up question. I know we have estimated 400,000, but don't see a written estimate anywhere, should there be 3 bids. But I think you've kind of answered that. Does anyone have a clarifying question? No? Yes?
No, I'm upset.
Sure. Anyone from citizens?
I have a question. My capital question is about the HVAC repairs, but should I leave it or should I ask it now?
We can jump into it.
Right, so I believe it was Councilman Canigo who had recommended, and we all agreed, that we should see whether or not there was any warranty or legal recourse regarding the installation, the original installation. Have we heard back on that? Is that an offset to this 30,000 that's in the budget?
No, it is not part of that conversation. As you have the vote for Councilman Canigo that's sitting on top of his mailbox, that has all the detail and spec information. And that's something that we're going to ultimately have to decide what we want to do with this system. However, you have the issue downstairs that, the issue that we had over the past. The dollars that I've allocated towards the capital budget addresses that issue. It allows us to put some money in, called reserve, basically, in case there's any other problems for this year. If we don't utilize that money, we have 2 other projects allocated to utilize that money for, and then that buys us some time this year to make a decision and to do some additional research about the overriding problems that we're having with the system.
I don't wish to extend the meeting, but for the benefit of our citizens as well as for the general public, we've had heating problems where the heating system has completely failed in sections of the building. Mr. Porio, please correct or jump in at any time. It was, I believe, discovered that there was a motherboard problem, and the system is not that old. What is it, 5 years?
Yeah.
So the motherboard fails, then it blows out valves because it's functioning incorrectly. We have to replace the valves, we have to replace the motherboard, and we have really only one contractor that is really qualified to repair it. So we're between a rock and a hard place, and it's beyond exasperating. And that's why Councilman Kanigo and others, including myself, feel that if there is some legal recourse, we should, and we would benefit from it financially, the cost of the legal services versus the cost of the return, we should move in that direction. And that's for the general public. Do you wish to add anything to that?
You get the nail on the head?
Very good. So now we are at, for the $800,000 police radio project. Sorry, I keep laughing every time I hear that one. I know we're not doing now, but do we have alternatives?
I was not involved in the initial quotes associated with the police radio communications. We have a functioning system currently right now.
Yes.
Much like our HVA system, it's something that we're going to go ahead and have to do some additional research this year to discuss what ultimately our options are.
And for the general public as well as for the citizen and for some members of councils, we currently run our own dispatcher. There is a county service for dispatch. Our equipment is very, very old, and it is a patchwork. But the question is, do we want to spend $800,000 completely renovating it? Do we want to do some sort of hybrid with the county, or do we want to hand off to the county as well? And Councilman Kanigo will ask that.
I just, if I may, since we're right now in negotiations with the PVA as well, and these are some of the issues they've touched upon, perhaps it's best to just say that we're exploring everything.
Yes.
We're looking into everything right now, and we'll circle back after all these negotiations are complete, the contract is set, and then we can look into the future as to how to improve things. However, the residents should feel safe and secure in the knowledge that the system that we have now, although it is old, is working fine. There's no safety concerns for the borough, and the police is out there doing the awesome job that they always do.
Yeah, we're just being proactive and responsible.
Absolutely. Looking into the future, because we know at some point we're going to have to look into it.
Yeah. 5, looking at the New Jersey fund, the average for 2019 was 2.29 yield, and the end, we kind of dealt with this. I'm just reading it into the record.
Okay.
And the end of December number for T-bills was 1.5. 12-month treasuries are currently yielding 0.31%. And so this is what we were talking about before, and we've already had this discussion. And then finally, the document says, as we left the budget meeting, we left the increase in Social Security, and that was is the last thing. But I think we've answered all the questions about Social Security, unless there's something more that someone would like to raise.
So Ray, that 15,000 you're getting out of financial administration, where is that coming from?
Alan has 2 years left on his severance payment. What I had budgeted for this year, had one under finance administration, one payment, and one under administration. Because my thought process was, if I could get rid of those 2 payments this year, then in 2021 would then allow us 15 months off the books. Obviously, I'm not, with the Social Security, I'm not going to be able to do that, so I reduced the one payment.
Okay.
And we'll still have another payment next year.
Okay.
Just trying to be proactive.
Okay, at the end of the packet was 2 pages, 2-sided, that said summary budget status with account description, dated March 6, 2020. Are there any questions, concerns, or issues that the council or citizens would like to raise at this time?
I'd have to digest this, you know.
So, and if there are questions, feel free to email them to Mr. Florio and Councilwoman Kaufman.
I guess one more thing, fire trucks, was there anything, last year they had asked for a lot, and I didn't really see anything in the CapEx besides.
They have $100,000 additional funding for the fire department. And then we also have, we budgeted $100,000, and we've also budgeted another $48,000 in the capital budget, which is our match for, the grant that we are applying in order to get, a total slate of new air tanks. And, if the grant does not come through, the $48,000 is going to be utilized to purchase 6 new high-band radios for the fire department.
But I thought last year they had like a huge number for trucks that they wanted. Did that not happen this year?
Well, the thought process was to go ahead and to do these 2 items this year, because Scuba, they use all new air packs, which was a $250,000 requirement. So we didn't factor that in because we're going for the grant. And if we're able then to go ahead and receive that grant, then the thought process was that for next year's capital, we wouldn't have to put that in there, and they can allocate more funds towards additional fire apparatus.
Wasn't there also the special ops truck was requested last year?
We're going to repurpose that money because we decided not to move forward.
Just to answer her question, that's
So are we
why it
gonna
was higher
see-
last year.
Yeah, are we going to see the 5-year CapEx plan for everybody at some point?
Yeah, well, we have to develop one.
Oh, okay.
There's not one that exists now. There wasn't one when I first got here. The thought process was to try to get you through this year, and then to go ahead and to sit down. I started working with Jason, I started working with Fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll see that.
And just following up on capital, while this budget process is a little more condensed than perhaps we would like, capital right now, there's no reason that over the summer, we can't get together as a finance committee and really hash out 2021 capital budget.
Okay.
Give or take an item or two, and then that way it's less of a conversation. We can kind of bang that out and talk about a 5-year capital plan as well, too. Certainly that's the direction I'd like to head.
So, Mr. Florio, the replacement, the 2-for-1 replacement at company number 2, we're envisioning that occurring next year? Because we have, just for the general public, item number 25, fire truck, $100,000. This allocation, additional funds and money have already been authorized. This truck will replace 2 others. So when are we, and of course we're not holding anyone to anything else, when are we considering that to occur?
I serve at the pleasure of mayor and council. If you want that to occur next year, it will occur next year. However,
what's the difference between what we've appropriated and what we need in general?
I would have to get to that number off the top. I don't know that number off the top of my head. I'm guessing it's around 250.
Yeah, I was thinking so.
However, I think that's something that when we get together and we take a look at the 5-year capital plan, we can give you a better answer on that.
And you've had conversations with the new chief, deputy chief, assistant chief about all these capital items, and I just want that to be on the record.
They obviously would like the truck as soon as possible.
Of course.
Let that be on the record.
Okay.
So I mentioned to the council at our last meeting the items that we are funding and the items that, as of this year, we are not. But we like to have them on our spreadsheets so that they kind of, are foremost in our minds for future years. This is a good way of organizing for the general public, good way of organizing our capital. We try to keep our capital somewhere around $1.5 million a year. Lately, we've been up to 1.8, 2. It's kind of hard. It depends. As equipment breaks down and you need to replace it, well, there you go. And, of course, we want to keep our roads in good condition. But does anyone on the council or the citizen portion of the committee want to speak to what they currently see as our list? I personally am satisfied with it as it's presented now, but I'm wondering where the rest of us are.
As far as the capital goes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with it personally.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
So items 1 through 52, the ones we are funding and what we're not funding, we're all good with it for this year. Having brought this to, at this point, we are really done with our work as a full committee. We may need to revisit at a special meeting. Of course, the citizens would be invited to be a part of this. But without objection, we're going to be moving towards closing the Council Citizen Budget Committee for this year, and we're going to direct Mr. Fiorio to move to, Mr. Fiorio, to move to introduce the budget. Is there any objection?
None.
No.
All right, is there any, for the good of the order, miscellaneous comments that anyone would like to make before we close? Oh, this also would mean we'd not be meeting on Saturday, and we would not be meeting on the following Wednesday, I believe.
I think
It was Wednesday and then Saturday.
It was Wednesday and Saturday?
it was this Wednesday we were supposed to be.
Yeah, so we are canceling those meetings tentatively.
We'll leave the time open just in case we need to.
We will leave the time open. We're not removing them from the calendar, but we are not anticipating meeting. Yes.
I had previously notified everyone that if the meeting happened on the 11th, I was not going to be able to attend.
Well, I think we can get rid of the 11th meeting and just leave the 14th on the books. If we need to, we can do today.
Sure. Any objection?
So we're.
Hearing none, we'll make that, the 11th is now removed, the 14th remains tentative.
Mayor and Council, since the budget committee, I just want to thank you the opportunity of working with you. I think it was a very good process. I think there's certainly areas to go ahead and to improve, but there's some other things that you can look at. I appreciate the back and forth. I really appreciate, believe it or not, I said this to the mayor yesterday, getting a whole host of questions. I've always really thoroughly enjoyed that, because I know that person has looked through the book and made up a list of questions. So I've always truly appreciated that. Kind of nerdy that way, I apologize, but I hope this process has worked for you. I hope it has been perhaps a little bit more streamlined to the point in which you guys have said. And as always, I'm here for any of you. Should you have any questions from now, or quite frankly, to the budget is adopted, if you have any questions in any way, shape, or form, you have a lot of my cell, you have my email, and anywhere in my office. That's it.
Any member of the council, if they wishes, or since the budget committee, can keep their books. If they do not wish to do so, please leave them here. I keep mine every year, but that's up to you. And I'm sure you're going to keep yours. But you don't need to if you don't want to. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. For the benefit of the members that are not present, can they be communicated with that the Wednesday meeting is canceled?
Sure.
Excellent. I'm glad you put that up. Yes.
I just want to take a moment, first of all, to thank the members of our Citizens Budget Committee for coming out early in the morning, working with us, and bearing with us. Also, thanks to Ray and Chris, and the chairwoman of our Finance Committee, Michelle Kaufman, who has done an exceptional job this year in going through this budget. A lot of work has been put in behind the scenes that people don't see, but I can assure you that just because there's been fewer meetings, that doesn't mean that there's been less work. I think this year has been has shown that the process can be streamlined, but we can still be effective, and I think this is ultimately a very good result given outside factors that we have no control over, be it the sewers, be it the Social Security, et cetera, et cetera. So we're trying to do our best in the small town, and I think this increase, although we're cognizant that it will affect our citizens, I think it's a good result for what we're working with this year. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to bring the meeting close, thanking again Mr. Corio and Chris and Gita and everyone in our offices. I'd like to thank everyone on the council and our Citizen Budget Committee, present and absent. And we'll be seeing you guys again next year, maybe, right? All right.
Hopefully.
So, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're closed.